What is Payments Canada? Who are we? What do we do? And how do we do it? These are all great questions, and we would love to tell you. Payments Canada is a public purpose organization, and contrary to popular belief, we are not a crown corporation and we are not funded with government money. Instead, we are funded by our 109 members through membership dues and fees and transaction costs. We were created as a statutory corporation by Parliament in 1980. Payments Canada runs the systems that financial institutions use every day to clear and settle payments. Those systems are the ACSS and the only high-value system in the country, Lynx. We also have the much-anticipated RTR system. When I say clear and settle payments, we are talking in the region of $476 billion every single day. That is quite a large chunk of change. As mentioned, Payments Canada is a statutory corporation, and our mandate can be found in the Canadian Payments Act. If you were to go and take a peek at the Act, you'll notice our legal name is the Canadian Payments Association, and in our rules we are referred to as the CPA or the Association. The Canadian Payments Act is our enabling legislation, and everything that we do is governed by this Act. Section 5 sets out our objects and duty. And to paraphrase, we are mandated to establish and operate national systems for clearing and settlement and other arrangements for the exchange of payments, to facilitate the interaction of our systems with other systems, and to facilitate the development of new payment methods. I mentioned earlier that we are a public purpose organization, and this is pretty important because we have the duty to ensure the efficiency, safety, and soundness of our systems and to take users' interests into account. Another fun fact for those who have not yet perused our Act, a user is defined as a person who is a user of payment services but is not a member. All of our actions and everything that we do at Payments Canada is in furtherance of our mandate. The Act also sets out all of the details regarding membership. Currently, there are two categories, being required members, such as the Bank of Canada and all other banks within Canada, and then there are entitled members. This is optional membership for entities like trust companies and life insurance companies. Membership in Payments Canada comes with a few wonderful perks. Membership gives financial institutions the right to present payment items, the obligation to accept and arrange for settlement of those payment items in accordance with our rules and our bylaws, and to access our systems, and then to participate in committees on rules and operations. When drafting our rules or amending existing rules, we consult with members closely in order to ensure seamless operations of our payment systems. Moving on to our governance, which, as you guessed, is also found in our Act. Payments Canada has a board of directors. The majority of our directors are independent, and this was a change that happened in 2015. When Payments Canada was established, we had a majority member board. The board consists of an independent chair, the president and CEO, 7 independent directors, and 5 member directors. Domestic systemically important banks are represented by at least 2 and a maximum of 3 directors. Under the Act, we are required to have advisory councils, which are the Stakeholders Advisory Council, referred to as SAC, and the Member Advisory Council, referred to as MAC. We do love a good acronym here at Payments Canada. Their purpose is to provide advice and counsel to our board, and this helps shape the payment landscape in Canada. We then have 2 regulators, the Bank of Canada and the Minister of Finance. The Minister provides policy oversight, which includes the power to disallow a rule or to issue a directive to make, repeal, or amend any rule or bylaw if it is in the public interest to do so. We work closely with the Bank of Canada in a few different capacities. Since Lynx and ACSS have been designated by the Bank of Canada, Payments Canada is subject to oversight by the bank and must observe the Bank of Canada's risk management standards. We keep the bank informed of anything that could have an impact on the functioning of the systems, as unsafe payment systems could affect the bank's ability to implement monetary policy effectively. As mentioned earlier, the bank is also a member, and the bank supports settlement, as settlement in Lynx happens in the books of the bank. This, folks, is outside of my wheelhouse, and our Lynx expert, Alyson, will speak more about this later on. The Act enables the board to make bylaws and rules which are binding on all of our members. When making these bylaws and rules, they are always made in line with our mandate. The Act specifically says that the board can make any bylaws and rules that it considers advisable for the attainment of the objects of the association. Our bylaws and rules are integral parts of the legal framework as they lay out the roles, responsibilities, and obligations of our members when using our systems to clear, settle, and exchange payments. We have a few different bylaws. Some are a bit more specific to our members, such as the compliance bylaw or the finance bylaw, which talks about dues and fees for members. We then have our system-specific bylaws, such as the Lynx bylaw, ACSS bylaw, and the draft RTR bylaw. Our rule sets are also system-specific. One of the ways we achieve our duty of promoting efficiency, safety, and soundness of our systems is through our bylaws and our rules. Our compliance bylaw covers potential contraventions of our rules because compliance action can be taken in respect of any potential contravention. Our compliance team takes a risk-based approach when dealing with any potential contraventions of the rules or compliance matters in general, and we strive to work with our members in order to come up with a plan to achieve compliance. Our bylaws build on the content in the Act and typically cover details like governance and the legal framework. Our rules are also made pursuant to the Act, and they are subject to our bylaws. The current rules, as I mentioned, are system-specific, and they are aligned with the ACSS and Lynx bylaws. Lastly, we provide supporting documentation, such as user manuals, guideline documents, and policy statements. Rules and supporting documents can all be found on our website under the Rules and Documents tab. Now that we've covered the basics of our legal framework, let's get into the exciting stuff, the systems. Sam lives and breathes ACSS, and as our resident expert, will talk all things retail batch.
Thank you, Kerri. The Automated Clearing Settlement System, ACSS, Canada's retail batch payment system, began operations in 1984 with the object of updating and automating the process of clearing in Canada. Today, it remains a safe, secure, and efficient payment system that Canadians rely on. Roughly 36 million payment items are cleared through the ACSS daily. That's about one payment per person in Canada each and every day. The ACSS was designed to account for forecasted migration within the Canadian payments ecosystem to electronic processes and was built with flexibility in mind. Over the last several decades, the ACSS has seen the shift from an economy driven primarily by paper payment items like checks to a majority digital world. Several payment types are accommodated by the ACSS, including debit card transactions, which account for the highest total volume. All those quick trips to the grocery store, gas station, and coffee shop add up. Other payment types include AFT debit, also referred to as pre-authorized debits or PADs. Think of your monthly gym membership or mortgage payments that are automatically debited from your bank account. AFT credits or direct deposits represent the largest proportion of ACSS value. These include payments such as your payroll or insurance disbursements. Checks continue to be exchanged as both physical paper items as well as converted to a digital replication known as an image captured payment or ICP. Today, roughly 97% of all checks are exchanged digitally. While we continue to see a decline in check usage across the country, they still account for a significant contributor of overall value. The ACSS also clears bill payments as well as federal government payments, including Receiver General warrants, government direct deposits, and Canada Savings Bonds. As Kerri explained, the Canadian Payments Act is our enabling legislation that sets out required and eligible membership, defining the institutions that may ultimately be able to participate in the Payments Canada systems. Specific eligibility for participation by members in each of the systems is then determined both by bylaws and rules for that system. Specific participant financial institutions, referred to as direct clearers or group clearers, participate directly in the ACSS. These participants handle the clearing and settlement of payments for their own customers, as well as for customers that maintain accounts at the other 100+ member financial institutions, known as indirect clearers. The Bank of Canada also plays an important role in establishing eligibility and defining member access to ACSS settlement accounts and loan facilities, which are required to become a direct clearer in the ACSS. At a high level, in order to become a direct clearer, you must be a member of Payments Canada, establish and maintain a settlement account and loan facility at the Bank of Canada, and satisfy the operational requirements of the ACSS rules. Prior to 2020, direct clearers also had to process at least 0.5% of the total national volume of payment items as a risk mitigation measure. However, updates to the ACSS bylaw have allowed for this requirement to be retired. In 2022, this resulted in the first new direct clearer being added to the ACSS since its launch. As Kerri mentioned earlier, the Bank of Canada also plays a number of roles as it relates to the ACSS. Not only do they act as an oversight body, but as a participant and a redemption agent on behalf of the Government of Canada. The life cycle of a payment can be categorized into 3 stages: exchange, clearing, and settlement. In the ACSS environment, exchange happens outside of the ACSS application, yet is covered by the legal framework. Paper items that are accepted on deposit at branches and ABMs throughout the country are transported via courier to one of 6 regional exchange points. Electronic items are exchanged via the CPA Services Network, the CSN, or through other private telecommunication networks. The CSN is used to facilitate bilateral payment file exchange of AFT, EDI, and ICP files. POS items can be exchanged through either the Interac Intermember Network or the Exchange Network, owned and operated by Interac and FICONEX, respectively. Following the exchange of paper and electronic payment items, direct clearers that are owed funds create manual or automated entries in the ACSS application against each other direct clearer. The ACSS is a batch total debit entry system, which means that individual payment items are batched or grouped in accordance with each eligible payment stream, and only the total volume and value of each batch is entered into the ACSS by the debiting direct clearer. Approximately 1,500 ACSS entries are made throughout the day. Each entry represents the total volume and value of all the payment items of the same stream that are included in a batch. The ACSS application calculates both bilateral and multilateral net positions, where the net positions are the ACSS clearing balances to be settled. Settlement of ACSS positions is effected through Lynx payments to ACSS settlement accounts held at the Bank of Canada. To share more about Lynx, I will now pass it over to Alyson.
Thanks, Sam. To close out our session today, I'll walk you through an overview of our high-value payment system, Lynx. Lynx is Canada's high-value payment system, a real-time gross settlement system, or RTGS for short, that facilitates the transfer of high-value, time-critical Canadian dollar payments between participating financial institutions in Canada. Note that not every member of Payments Canada is a Lynx participant. Lynx was implemented on August 30th of 2021. It replaced our large value transfer system, the LVTS. Lynx is used to send a variety of large value payments. A payment could be customer initiated, such as someone like you or I paying the down payment on a home, wiring money to a relative, or it could be a business, a large corporation paying an expense or making a business deal, or even larger than that, to settle our other financial market infrastructures like our very own ACSS. Because of this, Lynx is critical to the Canadian economy and designated as a systemically important payment system by the Bank of Canada. To give you some context on that, in 2023, Lynx settled a total of 13.1 million transactions, totaling $103 trillion in value. This translates to about $410 billion and 52,000 transactions on an average business day. And this makes up approximately 92% of all Payments Canada system value. As a real-time gross settlement system, settlement occurs immediately after the clearing of each individual payment, resulting in the instant transfer of funds in central bank dollars from one participant to another. Once settled, a payment is considered final and irrevocable. This is made possible through the pledging of collateral, because each participant must pledge eligible collateral through the system to the Bank of Canada, essentially providing a guarantee on the payment to negate the risk of default. Now, the pledging of collateral can get expensive. Lynx offers participants a liquidity savings mechanism that is configured to provide liquidity efficiency through liquidity recycling and payment offsetting. It has been designated as a systemically important payment system under the Payment Clearing and Settlement Act and is critical to Canada's economy, not only to safely send these payments, but also as the key mechanism by which the Bank of Canada implements its monetary policy through the target of the overnight rate, also known as the policy rate. At the end of each day, Lynx participants have either sent out more payments than they've received or received more payments than they've sent. To balance out the payments, the Lynx participants can borrow money from each other in the overnight market. This is the policy interest rate that the Bank of Canada charges when they make these overnight loans. Lynx has a number of key players. Payments Canada plays an active role in managing the day-to-day Lynx operations. We provide operational support, manage system emergencies, operational reporting, system maintenance, things like that. The Bank of Canada plays a critical dual role as both a direct participant and an oversight role. SWIFT, the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, plays a key role in providing the global financial messaging that the payment messages are sent. And of course, our Lynx participants. While Payments Canada has 109 members, only 16 participate directly in Lynx. The participants use Lynx for payment processing, which requires support from operational staff, as well as cash managers to monitor their position from a credit, collateral, and risk management perspective. So not just anyone can become a Lynx participant. A member of Payments Canada may, in the form and manner set out in our rules, make an application to the president to be a participant. And in order to become a Lynx participant, there are certain business, technical, security, and other requirements. Some of these include being a member of Payments Canada, meeting certain technology and testing requirements. An example of that would be an applicant would need to be a member of SWIFT and be able to send payment messages through SWIFT and meet the certification tests required by SWIFT. Have a Lynx and intraday loan accounts with the Bank of Canada. Have agreements in place regarding the accounts, loans, and advances, and the pledging of collateral with the Bank of Canada. The president must approve the application if a member demonstrates that it's met the requirements and paid the applicable fees set out in the bylaws and the rules. Now, I mentioned that there are presently 16 Lynx participants, including the Bank of Canada. But it's important to note that approximately 50 non-participant member financial institutions use the services of Lynx indirectly, acting through a direct participant. These non-participants send and receive Lynx payments through a Lynx participant with whom they've established a non-participant relationship. Moving on to legal framework, Lynx is governed by several key pieces of legislation. We have a dedicated bylaw, Canadian Payments Association Bylaw number 9, Lynx, as well as many rules outlined on our website detailing things like access, how to deal with emergencies, the system parameters, things like that. A compliance bylaw, the Payments Clearing and Settlement Act, which designates us as systemically important, as well as a memorandum of understanding between us and the Bank of Canada. Next, I'd like to take some time to walk you through a high-level overview of a journey of a Lynx payment to better understand how a participant uses Lynx. Here you will see the path that a payment message takes to get to its beneficiary. It starts with a payment request made by a customer. This can be an individual like you or me, a business, or another financial institution. Keep in mind that the customer's financial institution may not be the Lynx sending participant, but ultimately, the sending participant would send a payment message for settlement in Lynx using SWIFT. And this includes the full payment message details, customer name, account number, beneficiary name, account number, things like that. SWIFT then extracts a partial copy of this message, which is what we call settlement instructions, from the payment message and sends it to Lynx. And it's important to note here that this partial copy message does not include any personal information. It only includes the amount of the payments, which Lynx participant is receiving the payment in Lynx, and the currency, as Lynx only accepts Canadian dollar payments. Lynx then checks the settlement instructions for certain errors. For example, if the currency and the message format are correct, as well as to confirm that the sending participant has enough collateral pledged to guarantee the payment. And either it sends the settlement instruction to Lynx to be processed and queued for later, or it will reject the settlement instruction. Once the payment is processed, Lynx will issue a payment confirmation reference number, or PCRN for short, which is sent back to SWIFT, which is essentially approves the payment message and forwards the message to the receiving participant. The receiving participant will make the amount of the payment finally and irrevocably available to the payee. And again, the receiving participant may not be the financial institution of the beneficiary. It may just be an intermediary bank. I also want to note that Lynx was designed to support the settlement of both MT 103 and 205 and MX ISO 20022 payment messages. And finally, to close off our overview of Lynx, I want to emphasize again that many financial transactions and other financial systems depend on Lynx each day. As a result, Lynx is a key underpinning to the Canadian economy. There are several other key financial market infrastructures that are settled through Lynx. Some examples of other FMIs settled through Lynx include CDSX, the clearing and settlement system for debt and equity securities in Canada, CLS Bank, a global payment system for the settlement of foreign exchange transactions, which Lynx settles the Canadian dollar portion of these transactions, the Canadian Derivatives Clearing Corporation, CDCC, a Canadian central counterparty that clears transactions in certain fixed income securities, repurchase agreements, equity derivatives, and all derivatives traded on the Montreal Exchange, and our very own ACSS that Sam just spoke to. This concludes our overview. On behalf of the three of us, thank you so much for your time today. We hope you learned a little bit more about Payments Canada and the role that our systems play in facilitating payments in Canada.